My wife went out last night and didn't come home. At 2:30, she said she was leaving the party. At 4, she sent me to voicemail. At 6:47, she stumbled in, wearing a torn dress I'd never seen before. And what she told me, it shattered everything.
Plus 3 updates.
This is horrible. I'm furious right now, but I'm also depressed. I know what I have to do, it's just too hard for me to do it. It's fresh, and it hurts so much. My wife didn't come home last night. She went out with a couple of girlfriends, which is pretty normal for her. She's usually back around 2 a.m. on these nights, so I waited up. Around 2:30, I called to check in. She answered, and I could hear people in the background. She told me they went to a party but were leaving in a couple of minutes. When she wasn't home by 3, I texted her. It delivered, but I got no reply. Around 4 a.m., I called again. It rang a couple of times before she sent me to voicemail. My wife finally came stumbling through the door at 6:47 a.m. this morning. I know the exact time because I was worried. She was wearing a dress she didn't leave the house in, along with mesh leggings I've never seen before. The leggings were clearly torn, and her makeup was smudged. My heart sank when I saw her. My immediate worry was that she had been SA'd. When I asked her, she only shook her head no. I asked her what she had been doing, then. She just said,
"You know what I've been doing?"
And that confirmed what the voice in the back of my head had been screaming since she walked in. My wife cheated on me last night. I asked her who it was. She shrugged almost casually and said it was somebody they met at the club. She went back to his house, hooked up with him, and then Ubered home. After that, she said she didn't want to argue and just wanted to sleep. So that's what she did. She's still asleep now. She didn't even take a shower before passing out. Suffice it to say, our relationship is over. We don't have any kids, and we rent, so it shouldn't be an extremely complicated process. I keep trying to reason myself out of it, pretending there might be something to salvage here. But I've always maintained that cheating would be a red line for me. I think I need to stick to that now. Update 1. True update coming later, but for now, alright, things have happened. I'm no longer at home, I left. I couldn't get the day off work today, so I'm writing this on my lunch break. Honestly, it's been a struggle to keep myself together. I've had to sneak off to the bathroom twice to cry. It's rough, dude. I'll post something more detailed later because, holy duck, there's a lot. I'm exhausted. I've only slept about 4 hours total since this all went down. Quick question, should I post the actual update in a new thread, or just update the one I already made? It's going to be a lot of text, probably longer than the first one by a bit. Oh, and to the woman who felt compelled to send me a spicy picture, thanks, but also no thanks. My heart just isn't in that sort of thing right now. Update 2. Me again, folks. I'm sorry I didn't get around to this sooner. I wasn't able to get the day off work yesterday because my boss is kind of a Karen. I was a complete mess at work, though, so they let me take the rest of the week as vacation, thankfully. I think I went through all the stages of grief while my soon-to-be ex was sleeping. I wasn't expecting my post to get any attention at all. I just figured I needed to try to talk to someone about it because I was not in a good headspace. I made the post in the morning, and by noon she was still passed out in the bedroom. I had processed things a bit more by then, and I had a rough plan in my head that I was starting to set in motion. I made a short list of questions I wanted answers to, gathered up all my important documents, laptop, etc., and then I went into the bedroom and started packing a suitcase. I know a lot of folks wanted me to kick her out. I did consider it, but honestly, I'm not overly attached to this place. We just rent, and I'm in a lucky enough situation that paying half the rent for a few months isn't going to financially ruin me. It'll sting a little, I won't lie, but I'll make it. Besides, being in this place would only remind me of her anyway. I need to be looking forward, not back. She woke up about halfway through me packing my suitcase. There was momentary confusion as she looked around the room, and then she just started bawling. Maybe this is awful of me, but I didn't bother comforting her. I told her I had screenshots of her Uber and text messages from her phone, and that plus her confirmation was enough to end things between us. She didn't respond, just cried louder. I debated trying to continue the conversation, but I decided to finish packing and head to the living room until she came out. When she finally left the bedroom, she sat next to me on the couch and asked if we could talk things through. I told her as calmly as possible that wasn't how things were going to work. I said I was going to ask questions, and I wanted honest answers. She agreed, so I proceeded. My voice was shaking the entire time. It was taking everything I had to hold it together, but I kept going. Was this the first time she had cheated? She started crying before answering and then told me no. She had cheated on me multiple times over the course of our relationship. Her exact words were,
"Just fun. A way for me to let off steam."
None of it ever meant anything. I wrote in a comment shortly after making my post that all the love couldn't just fade away in one swoop. Well, it can. It hit me right then that I wasn't dealing with my wife. The person I was married to literally wasn't in the room. This was someone different. She refused to tell me exactly how many times she had cheated, just that it was more than last night. Had she used protection? Without hesitation, she nodded emphatically. She seemed surprised I'd even ask. I'm still going to get tested just to be safe.
I can see this coming from a mile away.
I did some research into timing, and I'll take care of it soon. Were her friends also cheating on their spouses? Yes and no.
I guess I just didn't want to believe it was actually meant for me.
I tried to get her to tell me which of her friends were cheating so I could contact their spouses. She refused, so I ended up messaging pretty much every romantic partner of her girlfriends I could find on social media. There are a couple I don't know or couldn't locate, but I did my part. Why did she do it? This was the answer that gutted me the most. Her exact words were,
I need to have variety.
I told her it's not like our bed life was dull. She clarified,
It's not the same as something new.
I didn't even have a response to that. I had expected something about me working too much or not supporting her emotionally. Nope. She just slept with other guys because she felt like it and wanted to have some fun. When I didn't respond, she started asking about counseling and therapy. I reiterated that our relationship was over and that I'd be leaving. What she did next disgusted me. She actually tried to initiate fun with me, putting her hands on me and trying to take off my clothes. I felt like I wanted to vomit and pushed her away after a couple of seconds. She kept saying she'd figure out a way to fix it, that we could work through it together. I told her there was no way, and she started bawling again before locking herself in the bathroom. By that point, I was just sick of everything. I called her mother and told her what was going on. I gave her the full story, the cheating, the questions I had asked, and the fact that I was leaving. I've always had a good relationship with her parents, and they both decided to drive to town, about an hour away. Once I knew someone was on the way, I grabbed my things and left. Her crying in the bathroom felt hollow to me, especially given her answers to my questions. I packed another bag before leaving, taking everything I felt sentimental attachment to. I sat in a parking lot for a while until I got in contact with a buddy who let me crash at his place. I tried to nap, but the adrenaline was too much. I knew when her parents arrived at the apartment because she started calling me. When I didn't answer, she started texting me. She'd gone from sad and crying to furious. Apparently, I'm the bad guy for telling her mom everything. Whoops. I'm not sorry. Since leaving, I've received about 100 texts from her, ranging from name-calling to begging me to come back, to random pictures of food she's eaten for some reason. I haven't responded to any of them. I feel like I said my piece before leaving. So that's where I'm at now. We didn't have joint finances, so that part was easy. I canceled all subscriptions tied to my credit card just to be sure and changed all my important passwords. For now, I'm crashing on a friend's couch, but I've got feelers out for short-term rentals until I can find something more permanent. I've also started looking for a divorce attorney. A coworker had a recommendation, so unless I find someone better, I'll probably go with them. Lastly, I want to say I was shocked by how supportive everyone was. Thank you for that. Truly, from the bottom of my heart. It isn't easy for me to talk about emotional things with people close to me. This was an invaluable place for me to vent. Thank you all so much. Update 3. Hey, folks. I'm happy. I guess? To say that this will be the final update on what has probably been the most difficult chapter of my life. I've felt an immense amount of support from the community here since my initial 2 posts, so I wanted to give a brief update. Bottom line, my ex and I both signed the final papers for our divorce this week. It still feels kind of surreal to think about. About 2 weeks into everything, she became resistant. I cut her off entirely, and she refused to return my attorney's calls for a little while. Eventually, things got back on track. As for the infidelity itself, I don't have many more details to share with you. We did a brief mediation, and by that time, I didn't feel there was any remorse on her end. I've talked about this a lot with my therapist. By the way, I'm in therapy. It still hurts that someone I thought loved me could have apparently cared about me so little, but I'm working through it. That's really all I've got to share. Thanks again, everybody, for your advice and support.